Imagine growing up with Mama Hicks doing mushrooms.
I guess psychedelics are better than alcohol.
Hey, here's an option for you. Try God. Prepare to play.
You be the judge.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Order in the court.
This is Wretched Radio, preparing to play one of America's fastest growing game sensations. Which one of these articles has the greatest implications for you, your family, your local church, perhaps your nation? As always, representing the tens and tens of people listening to this here Wretched Radio program, although that number a little dubious, our very own Jimmy Hicks. Sir, are you prepared for your most earnest responsibility?
I am.
Prepare for story number one. Do you have any concerns, questions, confusion about what you're judging?
Well, no, not from.
Alrighty then.
I don't think so.
Which one has the most implications? Starting with Mommies Who Mushroom. These women aren't gardening. They are not hunting for truffles. These are mommies who use mushrooms, which is some sort of psychedelic drug that apparently more mommies are utilizing. This is from Harper Bazaar. I'll say Harper's Bazaar. Having recently begun to microdose with psychedelics 2 or 3 times a week every few months, in the past, they've taken higher doses than they've needed to work through something bigger, like a communication issue. It's a practice, they say, has completely transformed their relationships while radically improving their parenting. That's right, mushrooms are good for you, say some mommies who mushroom. Take a psychedelic and you'll be a better parent. Well, maybe you won't be as stressed, which is perhaps the most overused word right now, maybe ever. These are mommies who use psychedelics to just thinking that they're better parents. This is a time of psychedelic renaissance, of mushroom mania. It's a time when people are increasingly turning to psychedelics, not for recreation, but for healing. And many of them are parents using it for mental health. While parenthood is often billed as the ultimate blissed out euphoria, for many it's where the hemorrhaging of happiness happens. Boy, that's some alliteration. It's a sleep-deprived, tedious, anxiety-riddled road, recently made all the more difficult by the pandemic, worn down by the melees of modern parenting, burdened by the traumas they've inherited from their parents, or disillusioned with a mental health care system that has failed them. Some parents have found an answer in psychedelic substances. Wait, Jimmy, maybe just for yucks, imagine growing up with Mama Hicks doing mushrooms.
No, I can't. That's the most ridiculous thing ever.
Well, see, it would win the most ridiculous thing ever.
Right.
But what are the implications for this? From the article, study published in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease reported that when LSD was used in psychotherapy sessions, people who had been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness experienced decreased feelings of anxiety. So we're using now psychedelics and LSD, which I guess is a psychedelic, to help people not feel so anxious. Hey, here's an option for you. Try God. Anxious? Run to your strong tower. Rather exhausted? Run to the one who has infinite strength and power available to you. Rather than running to psychedelics or, frankly, most of the time, psychotropics, we should be running to the Lord. That is what he desires, and that is what almost every time he is doing when you are going through something that is stressful. He's squeezing you so that you can see what comes out of you, and if you run to a psychedelic, LSD, a bottle of booze, a vacation, a piece of furniture, whatever it is that makes you go, I feel better now, then you're not running to the one who actually can make you feel better always. Those idols will disappoint every single time. Many of the parents I spoke to for this story told me they stopped drinking once they began using psychedelics. So, Jimmy, that's a positive right there.
That's
alcohol consumption down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess psychedelics are better than alcohol.
No, they're not. This is story number 2. Former female Christian school teacher will serve no jail time for an intimate relationship with a female student. It was a plea agreement. Suspended 4 consecutive 12-month terms. In 2017, the teacher was 25. The student, 16. We're not going to send you to jail for that because, hey, we understand. Got to tell you, the issue of law and order these days and justice, isn't it funny? We're talking so much about justice these days, and yet so often, not always, so often our court system lets us down. Story number 3, Jimmy. You ready?
I am.
Meditation Barbie. That's right. You can do yoga with Barbie. There's a figurine called Breathe With Me Barbie, where you can do the mindfulness led by a toy. That would be story number 3, teaching the kids about the mindfulness, about the Hinduism, about the yoga and the meditation and the breathing. Story number 4, are there implications to a new report on, sorry to report this, the Rabbi Zacharias issue? A new report commissioned to dissect the internal culture and practices at Rabbi Zacharias International Ministries has found that the organization's leaders were so full of admiration for their founder that they could not confront him regarding his behavior. Wow. I wonder what that's like. Heaven, people admire you. This was commissioned by Guidepost Solutions, found that the ministry funds were allegedly used to sue an abuse survivor and mislead the public. It is alleged that Zacharias traveled with a female masseuse, and while this raised eyebrows among some staff, anyone who questioned Zacharias was sent to Siberia, sidelined, marginalized. Let's just call it canceled, shall we? A separate investigation confirmed Mr. Zacharias engaged in sexting, unwanted touching, spiritual abuse, and rape. It is uncertain as to what sort of future RZIM has. Well, without the RZ, I don't know either. But that is story number 4, Jimmy. A ministry that was trusted for so long, apparently, internally was not dealing with some issues that they should have been dealing. I think there's implications in that.
I do too.
People trusting other ministries. You can't blame them, frankly. Story number 5. You're not going to like this one. South Carolina Governor McMaster signs bill protecting churches from forced closure during pandemics. You say, that sounds good. I say, sometimes the devil is in the details. This is House Bill 3105, signed into law on Monday, which states the government may not limit the ability of a religious organization to continue operating and to engage in religious services during a state of emergency to a greater extent than it limits operations or services of other organizations or businesses that provide essential service. That's the part that made me go, oh, that ain't good. That ain't good, because if the government determining to shut down businesses, they can do whatever it is that they want to do, I guess, whether it's legal or not, constitutional or not. But the church is different. The church is a different entity. And as we have seen, the government, believe it or not, can be wrong. And when they are, whether they are mandating other businesses along with shutting down the church, when the church itself does not believe it's warranted, then they have stepped over the line of the realm of jurisdiction of the government. This isn't a horrible ruling, if you will, but I got to tell you, I think the implications for the future aren't so good, because the government can justify shutting down the church by shutting down other businesses. The church belongs to Christ. We are not rebels. We are not revolutionaries. We do not seek to disobey the government, but when they overstep the line into the spiritual matters and worship issues of a church, then each local church has the biblical right to say, sorry, no can do. Jimmy, which one of these stories has the biggest implications?
Story number one.
Mommies Who Mushroom.
That I want to lean there, but I do think the last one about the churches during pandemics, the wordplay there, I think that could have some pretty big future implications.
Yeah, it doesn't fully protect.
Right.
It protects us the same as a business, but we're not.
Mm.
And just because they shut down one does not mean that they have the authority to shut down the other. Yes, I know these situations are more complex than that simple statement, but that simple statement stands. There's government, there's family, there's church. And we need to be careful that the twain shall ne'er meet. This is Wretched Radio.
Hey,
Todd.
sweetie.
Take her around the block a few times?
Who's a good girl? You're not, because nobody does good. No, not one. Romans 5 says we're born in sin and iniquity, and our hearts are deceitful and wicked. You know that if you'd use the law, which brings about the knowledge of sin.